everyone. Very good evening to all of you and welcome to this session. I am Niharika John Mehra, your Faculty of English on CGB Mentors. So, I'm here with another editorial session. Those who don't know, these are our regular sessions. उसके बारे में मैं आपको detail देती हूँ. But before we go ahead, can you please confirm if you are able to hear me properly and see me properly? If everything is good to go, I'll start explaining a little bit about my classes. So, on this channel, classes are on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We have 1:30 p.m. class here. This is a practice session going on every day, Monday to Saturday, Sundays off. So we have classes here Mondays to Saturdays at 8 p.m. and these are the classes where I take editorials. So it's of great use for any of you preparing any exam, and English is a part of it. Okay, so हम इसमें क्या क्या कर रहे हैं? We are learning and practicing skimming, that is speedily read करना. Then we are doing vocab part, learning new vocabulary and phrases. We are practicing grammar, learning the rules and sharpening the grammar rules we already know. We are also doing some questions, discussing essay topics and a lot more exam angle वाला चीज. तो इतनी सारी चीजें just in a power packed session you are getting. So please make sure you are regular. जल्दी से like और share कर दो session को and make sure you hit the subscribe button अगर अभी तक आपने subscribe नहीं करा है. We'll start with skimming. I'll brief in a minute कि skimming में करना क्या होता है. आप सब्जेक्ट पर और वर्ब पर स्पेशल ध्यान दोगे. So you are gonna focus on subject and verb of a sentence. Try and understand what the sentence wants to convey rather than the details. Okay, so हम details में ज़्यादा नहीं घुसेंगे. जैसे एक example देती हूँ वापस से. वाइस प्रेसिडेंट जगदीप धनखड़. Now, I don't need to read the whole name. I just need to read maybe the title or his first name. Even if I read that while reading the whole sentence, it is enough for me to have an understanding. So, इसी तरीके से आप पूरा article पढ़ोगे. This editorial is taken from the Hindu, today's article. And all you have to do is understand the crux of the essence of the passage, the article. Once you are done reading in a sentence, आप मुझे यहाँ पर बताओगे कि आपने क्या समझा. Let's start doing. So मैं आपके सामने टाइमर भी दे रही हूँ 2.5 minutes. I want you to read it in a way you are skimming it because that's what आप exam में करोगे when an RC is asked or any other topic where a passage is mentioned. It's a short article. Usually we do the lengthy ones, but this time this one is a short one. Something very important I'll start with. Okay. Nobody confirmed me if my audio video is working fine or not. Okay, so reading time, skimming time is over. Okay, I should not say reading, because when I say reading, it means you go in the depth and you understand each and everything, and maybe you go dig deeper into the context. Okay, but what we get to see here is we are doing a reading that is just to benefit us, in the sense the type of information required to be there in our head. वह जब मैं explain करूंगी तो और depth में आ ही जाएगी information आपके पास में. Okay, now first thing first, I want to talk about something which is often asked in exams. Okay, often asked in exams, that is subjected to, and we have another phrase which is subject to. Okay, subject to and subjected to. Can anyone tell me the difference? Can anyone answer what should be used here? Mutual funds, MF लिखा मैंने, are subject to or subjected to risk. This यहाँ पे मैंने आपको example दिया है. We have two phrases, both of them take to after them, but one is subject to and another is subjected to. So in this case, mutual funds are subject to risk or subjected to risk. क्या बोलोगे? इसके ऊपर बहुत सारे क्वेश्चंस हमने देखे हैं, and this is the reason why I have written this thing in front of you. I want to explain you this thing. So the phrase subjected to, when subject word is used as a verb, like in the first sentence, the Supreme Court of India has been subjected to unfounded criticism, baseless criticism. Okay. Now when I say this, verb की तरह मैंने subjected का use करा, because has के साथ verb third form is to be used. Subject to as a verb phrase, okay, as in this context it is used. It means something or someone is undergoing something which is not pleasant, okay, something which is not what we would want, something which is negative. So here the Supreme Court of India has made to undergo some kind of criticism. उनको नहीं चाहिए था, but उनको जाना होकर गुजरना पड़ा. Now when you use the word subject to, okay, in this case यहाँ पे भी subject to सही था, you use it as adjectival phrase. Now subject is not acting as verb, it is acting as adjective, which means dependent on. So some, if mutual funds are connected to, or they are dependent on some kind of risk, some kind of risks are involved in mutual funds, this schedule is subject to change, subjected to change नहीं. That means there might be a time जब ये class 8 बजे शायद नहीं हो. So this class, this schedule is under the assumption or vulnerable to some kind of change. So वहाँ पे subject to का use होता है. Please make sure you know the difference, because when you are asked such things in error detection, maybe you want to use in your exam and all, this thin line difference is very important. It makes or breaks a sentence. Okay, so let's now get into understanding कि बोला क्या है आज के आर्टिकल में. Matters that count, matters as a noun use हुआ है. So on criticisms of the Supreme Court, so a lot of people are criticizing decisions and what the Supreme Court is doing. Maybe we are going to read about it. Attempts to intimidate the judiciary pose a threat to democracy. So people, what they are doing, they are attempting to intimidate, in the sense to frighten, to bully the judiciary. Such attempts pose a threat to democracy. The Supreme Court of India has made to undergo unfounded criticism, baseless criticism. by sections of the ruling BJP and VP with regard to separation of powers between the various branches of government. And this is with respect to what? Related to what? Related to the separation of powers between various branches of government and the principle of checks and balances. Checks and balances is actually distribution of power. So when power is distributed so that no one party has more of the control, it is called checks and balances. Not surprisingly, a Supreme Court bench, okay, it is made up of multiple judges, took note of the charge, okay. The what is the charge now? That it was intruding into executive and legislative functions. We all know judiciary, executive, legislative, okay, we all know the pillars and all. But यहाँ पे बोल रहे हैं, we are not surprised. It is not surprising that this bench took note of the charge. The charge that it was intruding, the Supreme Court was intruding into the other functions. In one petition, the court was urged to direct the center to act under these articles to deal with situation of violence in West Bengal. Okay, so one instance in one petition, court was urged to pressure बनाया गया to direct the center कि center को direct करे कि ये वाले article के अंतर्गत काम हो. In another, court's intervention was sought to curtail obscene content on online platforms. Another incident, court's intervention was sought to was in a way made to curtail. They wanted them to do this thing. It was not court's decision, but people are intervening there to curtail obscene content on the online platforms. Calcutta High Court had earlier ordered the deployment of central forces to stem violence in Murshidabad in West Bengal. Here also we can see the High Court is ordering or had ordered the deployment of central forces, not taking the Supreme Court seriously. Judicial review of legislative and executive decisions. This review is an integral part of the democracy. Now, author is saying that when judiciary acts in line with legislative and executive decisions, it is something that is a very important part of a democracy. Decisions of the executive and the legislature can be examined by judiciary to determine whether they are consistent with the constitution. So, the crash course batch will English be taken separately. We'll get more details on the crash course in a while, because yes, there are chances that we have separate English classes for that, but we'll let you know the details soon. Okay, now getting back to the article. Now, and even constitutional amendments are subjected to. So these amendments are dependent on, they are subject to, not subjected to the basic structure test. मतलब ये टेस्ट के अंतर्गत आते हैं. There are multiple avenues for judicial intervention in making and enforcement of law. So making में, enforcement में, it plays an important role. Article 13 gives judiciary the power to strike down laws that are violating fundamental rights. So they have power. Article 32 to 26 give the Supreme Court and High Courts respectively the power to issue writs for the enforcement of fundamental rights and beyond. So with respect to fundamental rights also, there is power given to the court. Okay. The idea that the judiciary is subservient to legislature, that judiciary is under, subservient means it is under the, or it is submissive to legislature, is out of line with the constitutional scheme. ये constitution से बाहर है. In fact, इसका उल्टा है. The judiciary is expected to insulate the rule of law. Insulate is to protect. The judiciary is expected to protect the rule of law from the pressure of public opinion that members of the legislature represent. लोगों से आ रहा, public से आ रहा, ultimately legislature में जा रहा. Actually, the judiciary is to protect the constitution, and this is how it should work. It is in this constructive friction between various institutions of the state that a society can achieve stability in governance. This is how there could be stability in governance, and there won't be one single point of control. The argument that legislatures can pass any law. अभी argument क्या है सुनो. Legislatures can pass any law on the basis of a majority is a majoritarian argument. So anything which is majoritarian is believing, it's a concept, it's a doctrine where people believe if majority is right, that thing is good to go, it is the right thing to do. So usko majoritarian belief bola jata hai. Now this is what is happening here. The argument that legislatures can pass any law, कि ये जो part these people are who are legislators, they can pass any law on the basis of majority. ज़्यादा लोग बोले चलो कर दो. It is actually not democracy but a majoritarian argument. The erasure of the distinction. Now erase करने, delete करने को बोला गया है. So this of distinction between executive and legislature has already created a crisis. Crisis किस बात का create हुआ है? Of accountability in governance at the national and state level, because there is a friction now that how much intervention could be done by the judiciary, and how executive and legislature has already created a crisis. The attempt to intimidate judiciary in the name of legislative supremacy. Legislature के legislation के नाम पे judiciary को ही threat करना. It's a threat to democracy. Okay, not its furtherance. किसी चीज को आगे बढ़ाना, to promote something or someone is to further someone as a verb. Furtherance is a noun. In the recent judgment that set timelines for the governor and president for acting on laws passed by the assembly, in this judgment the Supreme Court restored the authority of the elected legislatures. So this happened recently. The Supreme Court restored the authority of the elected ones, which was being trampled upon by an unelected governor, and earlier it was trampled upon. That means कि उसको disrespect करा जा रहा था, violate करा जा रहा था, and arbitrary actions by the president or unelected governor के द्वारा. The critics of judiciary miss this point altogether. So those who are saying that the judiciary is standing in the way of legislature, it's actually not the case. It's the judiciary protecting legislation, constitution, and helping us to do better. वो author is explaining or trying to say here that people are missing out on that point. ठीक है? तो ये आपका passage explanation हो गया, है ना? I'll start with vocabulary, and after that, and meanwhile you can hear and एक sentence में tell me the summary of what we have just read. उसके बाद मैं आपको grammar के कुछ questions देती हूँ. Before going ahead, once again, if you have forgotten, please like and share. Unfounded, lacking a basis. Unfounded, find वाला found नहीं है, ये स्थापित करना, किसी चीज का आधार रखना वाला found. Baseless, groundless, it has no substance. Okay, so it is, they're lacking in a strong basis of any kind of fact or reality. Intruding, entering where you are not allowed. Interfering, trespassing, hastक्षेप करना, not just physical कहीं जगह पर, but then in any kind of area. Judicial review is the court's power to examine constitutionality of laws. Okay, how laws come in line with constitution. तो उसे हम constitutional scrutiny बोलते हैं. That is called judicial review. Constructive friction. Constructive things are, okay, you might have heard about constructive criticism. Now there is also something that is called constructive friction. Healthy conflict. Friction is there, conflict is there, disagreement is there, but it is productive, constructive. It is to build you. It is a healthy conflict strengthening institutional balance. तो वो प्रकार का productive tension है. Like your teachers, they gave you constructive feedback. Our feedback may sound harsh, it may have some feedback which you may not like, but it is for you people to improve. So constructive चीजें वो होती है. Insulate is to protect. Okay, insulation पढ़ा था physics में, right? Now insulate करना in a metaphoric way is to shield, to safeguard, protect करना. Subservient, excessively obedient. Okay, एकदम दास गुलाम के समान behave करना. Compliant हो जाना, submissive हो जाना, घुटने टेक देना. Trample upon is to treat with disrespect. Okay, just think of it this way. This is a phrase, again, an important one. If there is food. Okay, just imagine, just to for the understanding, imagine there is some food that fell on the floor, and कोई उसे पैर से कुचल देता है, someone steps on it. Okay, it's considered highly disrespectful, right? We don't do that. Okay, we respect the food on our table. So here, in the same context, when you trample upon something, you are, it may be anything, not physical thing, but any kind of idea, any kind of image, anything. Treating with disrespect is to trample upon. Okay, and upon, not on. Rondana, another karna. Majoritarianism, rule based on majority, ignoring minorities. Okay, mob rule. Okay, so majority है तो हम ये करेंगे. It could be outside the religion context also, but then still, yeah. Accountability is responsibility of something. You are being transparent. जैसा है, you go and you talk to someone and you are being truly uh, as you are, being fully honest. जवाबदेही जिसे हिंदी बोला जाता है. Checks and balances. Distribution of power to prevent dominance. Okay, power separation so that everyone has some other power to counter, or in other words, एक के पास सारी power ना हो. Intimidate is to frighten someone. Pressure करना, bully करना, धमकाना, डराना. Curtail to reduce or limit something. Cut back, restrict. We have often seen this word. Erasure is the remover or elimination of something. किसी चीज को पूरी तरीके से गायब कर देना या delete कर देना. Okay. Now let me ask some grammar questions and then we will move to the rest of the part of our session. Part of speech of the encircled word. Okay, so it is adjective over here. Let me show you something. Now many people they think दुनिया में केवल to के साथ verb first form exist करता है. Okay, so what the people would do, they would quickly change this unfounded to unfound maybe, and 2 plus v1 हो गया hurray, and they actually destroy the whole sentence. Just now I told you subjected to में to is part of this phrase. Okay, this to is part of the preposition that I'm going to use with this word. So to what? Subjected to what? Criticism. That's my noun. And what kind of criticism? Unfound is adjective. Verb third form as past participle as adjective. So unnecessarily after to there has to be verb in first form. ऐसा नहीं होता है. Check the sentence if it is required or not. चलो. Next one. Part of speech. Part of speech. It is also an adjective. Part of speech of the word earlier. Yeah. This one is an adverb. Okay, so you can even check the position of the word. It is between helping and the main verb. If this is the case, this word definitely is an adverb. Okay, give me the subject and the verb of this sentence. Subject and the verb of the sentence that I have marked. What's wrong? Subject and verb. Main verb. Okay. I'll highlight another line. Okay, so subject and verb of this statement and subject and verb of this statement as well. You can get both of them together. I mean, you can answer both of the questions together. Two sentences I have highlighted. I want you to tell me the subject and verb of these sentences. For the first one, it is notion. Notion is explained then that the judiciary is subservient. This notion is the main verb here. Okay, because there is no other action happening. Something is something, like, or some, like when we say Niharika is my teacher, so someone is someone. Okay, in the same way, the notion is out of line, so notion subject is verb. For the second one, the argument, this is your subject. Now argument, that whatever can happen, whatever is the argument, we are explaining that using that. But now comes your main verb, which is again is itself, no other main verb. The argument is another kind of argument, तो वो यहाँ पे आपको दिख पा रहा है. Okay, next one. Tell me this sentence that I have highlighted. Okay, which voice is used primarily in this sentence? Is it in active voice or in passive voice? Okay, this would be the last question, then I'll take you to the summary and other MCQs. Active voice or passive voice? Which voice governs the sentence? It is active voice. Okay, because it is in this friction between whomsoever that a society can do something. Now modal verbs are not the part of voice. Active voice and passive voice, passive voice especially, is applicable when we know an action being done by someone. इसमें एक्शन ही नहीं है, मेन वर्ब तो है ही नहीं ना. इट इज इन दिस फ्रिक्शन बिटवीन समथिंग इज हैपनिंग, इट इज इन दिस कॉन्टेक्स्ट. कुछ ऐसा है, किसी के सिर्फ होने की बात है, देयर इज नो extra action like walking, running, talking, dancing is taking place. तो इस वजह से active बोलोगे इसको. This is an active word. चलो समरी पे एक बार ध्यान देते हैं. A quick recap. So the editorial defends the independence of judiciary against criticism from political leaders, particularly regarding its constitutional role in reviewing laws and executive action. So judiciary must not be criticized for the task or the work it is doing, because it is what they're supposed to do. It highlights that judicial review is a core part, integral part of our democracy, and the editorial warns against the narrative suggesting that the judiciary must be subservient to the legislature. It should not be under them. The Supreme Court's role in upholding the Constitution, even by setting limits on the president and governor, even through this, it ensures balance and accountability. So, the Supreme Court is supposed to do this. Attempts to intimidate or undermine this independence are dangerous for democratic stability, because if this is happening, then of course democracy is not secure. One thing that you all must remember, okay, even useful for your essays and all. Supreme Court is always written with the article. So it is always the Supreme Court. ध्यान रखना इस बात का. Okay. So descriptive, what we can see in descriptive paper, anything related to the topic or essay asked. Judicial review and the balance of power in democracy. Is the judiciary overreaching or upholding the constitution? How well judiciary is doing its job? Majoritarianism versus constitutionalism. You should know meaning of both the words. Separation of powers. How much it is actually practiced? How much is it is just like a hypothesis. Role of judiciary. This is the important one. Okay, fifth one wala super important hai. A very good topic to be asked in exam for essays. Role of judiciary in protecting democratic values. उसमें आप ये वाला content डाल सकते हो. Now some questions. Oh, there you go. That's the first one. Come on. Now this time you can at least answer A, B, C, D. Answer definitely is C. We just read that it is about the constitutional principle does what principle does editorial suggest is endangered? It is the independence and separation of powers. If separation of powers is missing, then democracy is in threat. So of course यहाँ पे आंसर C था. आपके आंसर शायद मुझे लेट आ रहे हैं, but that's okay. Continue answering. Answer is C. The editorial argues that suggesting the judiciary is subservient to the legislature, this is contrary to the constitution's design, because according to the constitution, judiciary is to uphold, and it has some kind of power, not power actually, but authority over the legislature. Third question. Answer, of course, is C. B. Separation of powers. Judicial activism, cooperate, फेडरलिज्म की बात हुई नहीं है, फंडामेंटल ड्यूटीज की एज सच इस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में आर्ग्यूमेंट वाइज बात नहीं हुई है. सो ऑफ कोर्स सेपरेशन ऑफ पावर्स. नेक्स्ट वन. So this one should be interesting. अगर आपने ध्यान दिया हो, this is that kind of exercise, you know. That's why it is super helpful. Answer to this one is D. Declaring a national emer- not D. C. Setting timelines for governors. So what do we get to see that when what recent reaction action by the Supreme Court is praised, that was towards the end of it, setting timelines for governors and even the president to act on the past laws. So this is what we get to see. आफ्टर द फर्स्ट वन आप लोगों के आंसर्स मेरे पास आए नहीं हैं, so I just need to check with you people. I think I'm still audible and visible, but if you can confirm, maybe you can answer and confirm that thing. Answer to this one is D. Uh, why does the editorial view the fusion of executive legislative functions as dangerous? The fusion mix up of it could create a crisis of accountability, transparency. ये word हमने सीखा भी था, so I hope you could have connected this vocabulary and answered. Now let's do some error detection questions. Yeah, the first. Answer to this one is A. Okay. I would love to see you people answering, but just in case. The idea that the judiciary, so when we say judiciary, we are talking about a vertical and we are talking about the whole setup. So it is a unique setup on its own. It has its own structure which is not replicable. That's why the judiciary must obey legislature के directives. Is, the idea is in conflict with, it's a phrase, the constitution which promotes independent institutions. No, it's correct. Next one. Mhm. Second one, the answer is it has no error. Article 13 empowers, it's single article, so subject verb agreement is okay. It empowers courts to declare any laws what unconstitutional, any laws, declare how unconstitutional, declare what. So I declare, the doctors declared him dead, okay, declared him किस अवस्था में dead. So similarly unconstitutional is correct over here. So to declare unconstitutional, किसको unconstitutional बोलेंगे? Any laws which infringes, because any लगा है, we are taking it in a singular format, which infringes upon fundamental rights. Okay. Answer is D. The court's decision to intervene, this decision was based on petitions. What petitions? Urge करते हुए actions under this article which was controversial in itself, not by itself. So this one I scrolled a lot than needed. Legislative supremacy cannot override what? The basic structure doctrine which ensures that governance remains unaccountable, accountable, or any kind of thing has to be in adjective form. So it remains accountable and fair. Fair एक और adjective था, तो adjective के parallelism में आपको adjective ही मिलना था. I'll be super careful now to scroll. Next question, fifth one. Actually, there is a circle with my video on the right side, you know. I just wanted to make sure earlier that nothing of the sentence is hiding behind that video part. और उस चक्कर में मैंने ज़्यादा scroll कर दिया. Okay, so the answer is C. Judiciary must not be influenced by popular opinion. What type of opinion? Represented in parliament as its mandate is to uphold the constitution. अगर यहाँ पे it is होता तो फिर ये वाला is क्या कर रहा है यहाँ पे? Mandate here is used as noun, and that's why we don't want apostrophe, we want the possessive form. उसका mandate, okay? Its mandate is to uphold the constitution. आप उसको mandatory नहीं कर सकते, because if you go with this thing as it is mandatory, तो फिर ये वाला is again is wrong. ये वाला is तो फिर भी गलत हुआ, है ना? So we need to check it that way. This its is wrong here. Mandate is noun and इसके पहले possessive form आएगा, contracted form नहीं आएगा. Okay? I hope you got it. That's it, and I'm gonna see you guys now tomorrow. Come with more of your friends, colleagues, peers, whosoever you think will be benefited through this session, because we are learning a lot just out of one piece of article, going in depth, and this is going to help you a lot in any of your exams. Okay, so take care, bye bye, see you later, bye.